I'll call this meeting to order. It is Thursday, May 16th, 2024, and it's 9:04 a.m., and we are here to discuss the 2020 tax foreclosure report with Susan Copeland. And I will turn it over to you.
Okay, well, this year we had to do something a little bit different because I no longer have the energy or the stamina to do the reports. So the reports were actually done by applying as title and escrow. Okay. They sent those reports to me, at which time I reviewed them, questioned some of the things which they rechecked, and then did your file worksheet and let you know who should be, in my opinion, should be sent notices.
That's why the quality wasn't as good.
You know, everything, I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I retired from the title company last October. I thought at one time I'd try to do some part-time work for them in the summer, but it's the rheumatoid arthritis is just getting so bad I just can't do it anymore. But I can still question things that I don't see.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
So with those saying, the reports, of course, you have copies of all the reports that were done. Mm-hmm. These were the things that kind of threw a flag up to me. And one is that on this John Hirsch and Barbara Hirsch, which is A0100 OOK002A, they said they couldn't find access. Now, I think it's coming off 2nd Street myself, but when they did the report, they said that it wasn't access that was actually a public road, so it could be a prescriptive right-of-way. So it's something they don't insure, but it probably has access, and has been for years. Then,
so we don't want to advertise it as lack of access.
No, it's just that it's, okay. I mean, they might find it. It's just that it looks from the aerial that the road's in there, and it was probably a prescriptive right-of-way. If they got title insurance, it would probably come up as something. But,
okay.
How many people do that? Okay. The other one, Lois Ruth Bailey, she is deceased. Is a probate out there. Nancy A. Elliott is your PR. So probably the assessment should actually put the estate in care of Nancy A. The other problem is with her siblings. Apparently they went and they've kind of deeded their interest to other siblings, which gives them what we call a color of title, because there's a deed out there saying them. So they too are listed, and we sent notices to them as well. Now that is because it's better to err on the side of caution than it is to just ignore, well, no, you don't. Make a legal determination, no, you don't have an interest. Now, the next one, the Raymond E. Hansen Trust, those are the lots that are up on that hill over there. And the way that was platted really didn't have access platted out. It was just kind of chunks of ground. So it's there. I don't know how you get to it. But the access fits it. And that's where they do have a lack of access. So I think if that one went up for auction, you would say, buyer beware, that you might have to establish some sort of access to them. Okay. Now, this is the one they really couldn't nail down for me, and even though they sent me everything they found, I myself did not search for it. And this is Lot 26, or a portion of Lot 26, in the 9 Mile edition. That's why I brought my computer here. I'll show you some maps. If they can pop up. It's an old map. Come on, baby. You can do it. I know you got power in there. But while I'm waiting to get these maps up, after looking at what records they were able to send me, I believe that there has been confusion as to what it is. What is Lot 26? The deed, which was for this piece, was a tax deed back in 1996, 97 to this Grocaret or whatever it was. And the deed reads 3/8 of Lot 26. 3/8 what?
Interest or no? Okay.
And no,
I mean, I just go with what is on the deed. That's what I wanted to hear. For you, though. Come on. Try it again. I like my old one. I just had to do this.
Yeah.
So, looking at the maps, which made it even more confusing, I did find a 1920 deed that listed a 1/8 interest to the railroad, and that did say 1/8 interest of the lot. And then I think I found a 1/2 interest too, but
On this parcel?
on this parcel. But those were the only ones that did it. But then I want to show you how the county plat map is, which kind of threw me through a loop because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do we have, really? I don't know if you can see this.
Okay.
You see, you've got Grochart up here, off 9 Mile, and then you have Hecla Mining that goes through it, and then you have the railroad down here.
Okay.
All right. So that would indicate there's 3 parties of interest there.
Mm-hmm. Because the half and the 1/8 and 3/8 would be one.
Well, no, because the Burlington Northern is 5/8.
Oh, okay.
All right. So now you see where my confusion
Yeah.
comes in.
Okay.
It appears to me that really probably for the last 100 years or better, that the county has been assessing area and not interest. And that even though the only deed I have that shows interest, because the other 2 deeds don't, it's just. I think originally Lot 26 looked like this. And then prior to the plat, and I've got the plats up here too. That's the county. I want the original plat. Here's the original plat. It's kind of hard to see. It's little small there. But I think what happened is that they thought, well, wait a minute, we kind of need access, behind here. So they platted an alley, a 16-foot alley, and they decided to cut that Lot 26, for that alley. Okay? I think that's what happened. And if I had done the searching, I probably would have figured out that is what happened. But most likely that is what happened. So what it comes down to is that we got a piece of property that, standing alone by itself, is useless. Because you can't build on it. It doesn't meet any of the planning and zoning things. It's kind of an irregular shaped type of piece of ground. So there's 2 things that, I would suggest if it is tax deeded, that it's offered to the adjoining property owner to extend, who has Lot 25, to extend that little piece. I did amend the legal to read, how'd I do it? To describe that portion of Lot 26 lying westerly of the platted alleyway. So that it nails it down, even though I still don't know how big that piece of property is, because only a surveyor would be able to tell you what that is. So there's 2 things. One, conveying it to the adjoining property owner of Lot 25, let them go ahead and extend it. But I went by there earlier this week to kind of look at it, And it appears that the alley has never been platted. It's platted, but it's never been used or put in. Because the other thought I had was because it's only 16 feet and coming off 9 Mile, that maybe put that portion of 26 into the road department because you could get, a better for
alley access.
Well, yeah, alley access to it for right away emergency equipment. There. But also looking down there, and not the fact that the alley has actually been used as an alley, and then you have 9 Mile Creek that's right behind it before you get to the other block, the other up there. Maybe it would be wiser for the county, since they're using it anyway, to vacate that alley, get rid of that alley, and thereby, assessing the people that are actually using it. Or if it's deemed that somewhere down the line that that's a necessary access, for emergency purposes or whatever, then I would suggest, because it's coming, off 9 Mile at a 90-degree angle, how narrow it is there, to use it as part of the right-of-way in order to be able to make that corner. Yeah. So those are two things. But a standalone lot, it's useless. If I went out there to buy it, the only thing I could probably put on it was a sign, "Do not enter," or private property or something. Well, no, we put that over the creek.
Yeah.
We want to make it historical. So, that is the problem. But no, they tried really hard, and they could not do a report. I did talk them into doing what they call the lot book report and a lien search, which the lot book report basically says, this is the last deed of record we found on this property, and we don't find anybody having any liens against it, but it doesn't say what it is. But I did narrow the legal down to describe actually what is being assessed, and I think that's the legal you should use from here on instead of 3/8, because it's clear from even your plat map, if railroad has 5/8 and this one has 3/8, and then there's the alley that goes through and it's listed at Hecla, which, by the way, I think is because it is on the Big Medicine Lode, and Hecla probably has the minerals, and that's why Hecla is showing up on that. Does that stand to reason?
Could be. So I don't have.
But Hecla would have the minerals on the entire. It just wouldn't be that little strip. I'm just thinking that's why Hecla is showing up on that plat map. Is because most likely it's on the bed. It is on the Big Medicine Lode, and Hecla does have the interest, or the mining, or the mineral interest in the Big Medicine. So I'm just speculation. Like I say, I didn't do the search, but they did send me all the documents that they found, and I couldn't, from what I found without doing my search itself, I couldn't find a good chain. But then the chain, the 3/8 interest in the chain, was back in 1997, which is past the affidavit of adverse possession guidelines, which, would take it there. So it becomes more of a legal fault. So those are my suggestions for Lot 26. Okay. Now we're getting into the tax parcels, which this used to be part of the old Brown's Ranch group, which is in Kellogg, which the gondola right-of-way cuts through. Mm-hmm. So one's on one side and one's on the other. Tax parcel numbers, this 5100 it's a good legal. It's a standalone legal. It doesn't have any problem. They did find Dorshak had an interest, beneficiary interest in a lien. Now his estate has been contentious. There's been these attorneys, those attorneys, I quit, you quit. There's been changes of PRs. I think the courts finally assigned a court administrator instead of the PR. I don't know the status of that at all, but the lien itself is still of record. So what I instructed Carrie here to do was to also include the attorneys on that, to just give I put everybody in there that I could find that may have an interest in this ground.
Which we had 16 people that
there were
sent certified
16
letters on these.
Right, and it's because it was so contentious. I didn't want any of those coming back and says, "Well, you didn't tell me."
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So did that 16 include the attorneys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe so. I don't have the list with me, but
yeah, it include the last attorneys of record. I mean the information I got because I pulled the court case, electronic portion of the court case, and it was this one and that one and this one, and it's the surviving spouse and it's the kids, and the kids fought with the kids, and I mean it was very, and still is probably. I don't think it's closed, so I think it's still contentious, but that way everybody knows. Now, tax parcels. This is the group, and this is on one side of. So this would be the east side of the gondola right-of-way. You can kind of picture where the gondola right-of-way. Mm-hmm. This property is on the east side, and it is and has been only one legal description. Unfortunately, because of the tax code cuts and everything in there, it actually is 6 tax parcel numbers.
Yeah.
This has always been a thing with me. It's because the legal, it's just one legal, it should just be one tax parcel numbers, and I understand. But I also understand that a software correction, where these other, that it could be split on one tax bill, that this goes here, would solve a lot of problems, because this isn't the only piece that does this, because it cuts. What I did in this case, I cut on one side, I did cut the legals down to the best of my ability to separate them. However, it is wise that the affidavit of compliance uses just the one legal and just highlights all of the tax parcel numbers on the one legal, and the tax deed also be the one legal. I did not see anything in the code that restricted you to do that, but I'm not an attorney. It does say that you have to notify them each tax parcel number, which we did. We split it up, each got an affidavit or the notice of pending issue. We did that. Mm-hmm. So, but when it comes down to the affidavit basically says we did what we were supposed to do, and here's the tax deed, and I think and that would stop all the confusion, because it will entail all of those tax parcel numbers. But it'd still be the one legal, which is the only legal of record.
Right.
Okay?
That's how it operates, by the legal description.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. So, but like I say, if some of these tax parcel numbers can be joined together, it's going to save the county money. Just tracking this stuff. If it can be done on one, you got one legal, one tax parcel number. The way we are, right now this is the only logical way they can do it, because the software itself does not allow you to say, well, 2 acres of this goes into this tax code, and 3 acres of this goes in that tax code. We don't have that ability.
And then there's a little more to that, Sue.
Uh-huh.
Because this acreage goes here, then this value goes here.
Right.
And so with individual parcel numbers, they can accomplish that, and that's the easiest.
I know, it's the easiest, but it's also cumbersome.
Until,
if
we want to spend $2.5 million for a better software system instead of one we get from the tax commission free, we could do that.
Well, I know.
So,
it's just that I'm just saying that it's.
Yeah, we would love it.
I'm not going to be here forever, and a lot of these people don't know that, okay, this is one legal, how come I got 6 tax parcel numbers for it?
Yeah, because it's replicated probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far not the only thing in Shoshone County that does this, because I got a lot and block in Woodland Park that is cut in half.
Mhm.
And the legal for each parcel is the same. So it just really confuses
Now,
people.
is that because of taxing districts? Is that why?
For instance, my place when I lived at King Street, a corner of it was in city limits, and the rest was out.
Mm-hmm.
So the parcel was like this, and the city drew the line something like this. So this pays city taxes.
Okay.
This part doesn't.
Okay.
So if you could have some type of ordinance that says you can't split parcels or develop parcels if they cross code areas, that would take care of it too. But when they're writing those descriptions, they don't care if they split parcels.
Okay.
And that can happen with a section line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of logical reasons. I mean, it made perfectly good sense, I'm sure, when they did it. But this is way, easier way to do it.
I think when they're developing or annexing it, there's an ordinance that says you can only do it by sections, then you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Unless it crosses
Right,
section.
but then you still have what's in the past to deal with.
Yes.
And, okay, this will fix the problem in the future for that, but it's not going to help you in the past until. But anyway, that's just my suggestion. Leave the one legal, do the one affidavit that's all 6 parcel numbers on it, and do the tax deed if it comes to that, and then let everything go where it may.
It would be
The
Right.
same thing
Everything
comes
else,
down to the following. There's 2 tax parcel numbers, and it's, again, because of the tax code, I did the same thing with this one. I did one affidavit. I did separate, but then I did the one affidavit that is the entire property, which is what we should be using, or
and that way it offers the 2 together, or the
yeah,
6.
Right. It's all 6. Yeah, I mean, if it's just one deed, this is the 6 parcel numbers. There's no question. You got to bid on this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. You want it all just. No, you got to take one or none,
Mm-hmm.
or you got to take them all or none. The same way with that, and this is the parcel, that portion of what they used to call Brown's Ranch, which is lying west of the gondola, is the other 2 tax parcel numbers. Okay. Now we're coming down to the Beck property. This has been on the list off and on for a few years. The report stated there was a possible encroachment of improvements onto adjoining property to the west. And yes, it does, because they own the property to the west as well. So there are houses or corners of houses or sheds or stuff. So if here again, this is the lots are good. Either if you sell them separate, hey, you may have a possible encroachment, of the building, or you can just say, okay, all of the Beck property goes under one order, one sale, and then you don't have to deal with where's the house, type thing, or at least let the buyer be aware that, hey, you may have a problem here. So that the same way with tax parcel number for the Gravel and North property. This is brother and sister. They acquired it through a decree, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just best here again that they are 2 separate pieces, but the way they're set up there, it's best just to keep them together as one lot, because they're using it, together. So that's another keep them all together thing. Now we're going down to the Pearson property. There is a mobile home on the property. Taxes on the mobile home have been, in times, assessed to the real property for not being paid. So technically, mobile home taxes aren't paid either. But this parcel is separate, and there is no delinquency showing on the mobile home. This has always been a problem for some people who say, well, I bought the lot, so the mobile home's mine. Technically, it is not.
No.
But there is the Idaho code, such and such, if they wanted to go through that in order to acquire the mobile home. Yes.
Do you remember who owned the manufactured home by chance?
I think it's Pearson.
Same
I think it is
just
his.
not tax deed.
No, it's not tax deeded. What they did, they don't pay the taxes, and instead of selling the home, they thought, well, we'll just put it on the land it's on.
Mhm.
Which we don't do it that way anymore.
Oh, don't you?
They all
Okay.
go to sell
Okay.
because you suggested that's
Yeah.
the best way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't do that. If it comes back that's returned from the sheriff,
Mhm.
then I certify it to the tax bill.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But it will go through sell first.
You know, it's just because a mobile home is personal property, not real.
It's titled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we,
Yep, unless
Okay.
they turn it into real.
The next one is the Seiko estate. This one, I think, is showing Seiko, Topfest, and Edith Seiko on it. Okay, because I kind of run the chain down here because I had already done the search, so I know it really good.
Mm-hmm.
In 1987, Seiko, Robert and Edith acquired the property from Reed Roberts, and that deed was recorded. And then in 93, the Seikos did file a community property agreement. So, as you know, on a community property agreement, if one spouse dies, they file the death certificate, and it goes into the remaining spouse's name. I mean, that's usually how we've handled those. Now, there is no death certificate recorded in Shoshone County for Edith, but I did find her that she died in 2005 in Washington State, and I did find an obit that was published in the Herald between December 25th and 28th in 2005. So theoretically, her estate would have gone just into her surviving spouse, which was Robert. Now, Robert then conveyed the property to his two children, which is Mark J. Seiko and Ann Denise Totfest, and that deed was recorded, and he did reserve a life estate. Here again, Robert died and disclosed an obit published in the Herald. No, maybe he didn't reserve a life estate. But anyway, he died in 2007, and I found his obit in the Herald as well. Now, that would leave the two kids that were out there, Anne and Mark. And now I found Ann Denise Seiko Totfest, where she died in Colorado in 2013, because I found her on a Find a Grave memorial. So that's where I found that one. So she's deceased. So in my opinion, what we have is Mark as a 50% interest in the property, and the estate of Anne is the other 50%. I did not find any probates being issued, so that one's kind of up in the air. So what we have done, I did have a report where Denise, her surviving spouse, was notified, and also Mark was notified not only at his business, which he was an insurance broker, but also the address, home address that I found. So he knows about it, so that's it. So that's just the part up there, and that's up on the Burke Road. Now then we have tax parcel, which is also up on the Burke Road as part of Canyon Edition. And there is a mobile home situated on this parcel, and it seems to also encroach property to the east and the south. So the mobile home that's on the property, east and the south, in other words, it's on the railroad right-of-way, which is not unusual at the Burke Canyon.
just say that.
It's just not unusual. So now we're just going to jump all the way down into Kingston. 648 and 2? Kingston?
Yeah.
All right, there's two tax parcel numbers there. One of it is part of a lot and block, and the other one is the piece that's behind it. They are separate legal descriptions. There are separate parcels. However, if you sever the common ownership, access to the parcel, one of the parcels would be severed. So it's just suggested that these two always go as a package deal. Diversified machine technology. This one is It's just outside. It's between Big Creek and Osborne. 348 and 3. Yeah, right? Okay. How am I doing here, Terry?
Pretty close, yeah.
It's awful when you can't do your own work, you know? Yeah, right, never mind. Anyway, the title company did find that it does have access off the high water road. And looking at the maps, there is a tip of it that does touch the high water road. So I just, to me, it's not a viable access. So if it is sold, there is access. I mean, but they might want to, consider how you're really going to get there.
Limited.
Yeah. I mean, it's because of the terrain. It's kind of limited. Higgins. Oh, okay. This piece of, which is it's more in the Polaris area. It's kind of over across. It'd be on the north side of the freeway. Just as you kind of turn around the corner, because it's 1248 and 3, kind of like you're going up Terre Gulch in that area. When Patterson was the original owner back in 57, when he sold the property to Watts, is that he retained a 1/2 interest in the minerals of that ground, and a tax parcel was issued for that. Then again, there were 2 deeds. They both said 1/2 interest in the minerals. So here again, it's kind of come down into an estate, and so I did find the people that did have it, and we've notified them. I think it's a mother and 2 sons that ended up with the interest of the Patterson interest, which is the 1/2 interest in minerals.
The Lewis Higgins actually reached out to me.
Yeah.
And said these 2 were, Catherine and William, were deceased, and he wants nothing to do with it. He said he already shred everything and let it go to sell.
Okay, so that's the one that have it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In this case, I seriously would suggest that the county contact the surface owner. Hey, you want this 1/2 interest of the minerals? Merge it back together. Get rid of the tax parcel number. Just put it all back together, and that way you can eliminate having to track that 1/2 interest. I wouldn't, have the tax parcel number say, well, you got a 1/2 interest in that, because technically they still have a 1/2 interest in the surface anyway. This is way the taxes can't be that high. There's going to be what, $500 roughly, what's maybe 6 at the most. But to get rid of that.
Sue, does it have to be auction presented?
No, it does not have to be auctioned off because of the statute where they've got it's a different, yeah. Thank you. You printed it out. Yeah, it's a small tract. It's kind of through the provision of small tract, and it allowed the counties to get rid of little pieces that didn't really have any value to anybody except the adjoining property owner or something along that line, and it gave them permission that they did not have to put it, to auction.
Value less than $25 per acre.
Yeah, which this doesn't. Yeah. So the value itself, and it just makes better sense not, to combine it if you can, and then not have I track it. And because title companies do not insure minerals in Shoshone County at all. They do have a report that's called a mineral guarantee, which can be expensive. I think this one costs close to $400, wasn't it?
Really?
Yeah, $430
because it's $100 an hour to search. And next year, if we run into, of course I got the list ahead of time too, and I just didn't pay that much attention to it, is that if we come down where it's just a mineral interest in a piece of property, if I'm allowed to do it or want to do it or can do it, we're going to have them search the surface portion of it, because the deed to the minerals should come out of that report itself. And then by having the deed, that'll give us all the information we need to notify all the people we need.
Okay.
Okay?
And then just offer the mineral.
Yeah.
To the
But just surface, I mean, yeah, to do the minerals part, to see who else may have the minerals, and of course it's going to be a case by case, because sometimes it doesn't track well, but if I can find the track from the surface report, if not, then I can have them search a little bit and things. The other thing that we found out is that I didn't limit the reports to $10,000 liability, which the county does have the liability on all these reports, because on some of them they did use the value of the land as their liability. Next year we can just curtail that just at $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the county would just get $10,000 liability on each report.
That's why there was different amounts.
That's why it was different amounts, you know, and like I say, it was kind of a learning curve for me
It's our
as
first year.
well, you know, because I didn't do it. Okay, 48, this is 2048 and 4, so this is Osborne to Kingston. All right, Osborne, it'd be Osborne to Silverton, 2048 and 4. Because Silverton's 21, right?
I think so.
I'm counting on you. I'm too old. They're indicating that it has lack of access. Not unusual. And then we have 49. Okay, this one can be a little tricky. This one is in the Kingston area, and there's 2 parcels. They're kind of, and I think it was a code split too at one time, but there actually are 2 separate parcels to this. They're under one ownership now. I think the house is sitting on the one that is further east, if I remember right. The parcel that is being conveyed or being taxed is the one in front of it. You have to go through that one in the front in order to get to the one in the back. Is there a problem? There may be for the one in the back. I would just suggest in this, if this does come to an auction, is that the county can, by adding a statement to the deed to them, subject to private roadway across subject property to the property to the east, you know, and thereby not severing access, and then let them fight it out as to where that road is. But just alerting, you know, because actually they would still have access. It's the people in the back that wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But you don't want the people in the back coming back and saying, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. So that's just a suggestion, by adding something to the deed that basically says, subject to a private roadway, granting access to, you know, such and such a property. And that way you're not accepting out the road. Mm-hmm. You're just making the property subject to the road. I don't want you to accept the road right away, because then you end up with the road right away, and then they say, well, are you going to plow it? Yeah. So no, you don't want to do that. You just want to make it subject to. You're alerting these people that there is a road there, and that they're, you know, might have to comply with whatever. And then if there's a court action, they can deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. My idea is to try to keep you guys out of court. Okay, we got that one, last one. All right, this one here is, there is a roadway, it's called Hammer Road. Here again, it's, there is access by Hammer Road, but when it is a private road, especially if it's somebody outside of the area, I like to let them know that it is a private road and the county does not plow it. Okay? You know, it's just saying, well, you said I had access, and how come you're not plowing my road? You don't really have to, but
Courtesy.
it's kind of a courtesy thing.
Mm.
So those are the only things that I really found this year. It's like Carrie and I did. I'm sorry I'm not able to do the searches. There's things out there. The other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, is the railroad right away up Burke Canyon, because people keep calling me on that one. The only one that I've ever searched out fully to make a sense has been the Tomshee Plat, which is your Canyon Edition area. Of course, when it was platted, the railroad was not included as far as that plat. So technically, and the deed to the railroad had a revisionary clause in it. Upon abandonment, the railroad has been abandoned by parties to be, so it has been abandoned. So technically, the property goes down to Tomshee. Of course, he's deceased, and his wife is deceased, and the only child they have is deceased. So it is the Tomshee estate that is the vested owner of record. Yeah, it's been that way over 50 years now as an unknown owner. Maybe it's time to, because everybody, including my father, have, okay, this is my part.
Yeah.
And so they're using it, and rightfully they should, and everything else, but it's still being out there as an unknown owner. Maybe the county should consider tax deeding, even if it's just the unknown owner. In the Tomshee case, it would be Tomshee, and all other unknown owners tax deed the entire line. At that time, the county would end up with a railroad line, per se, an access or right of way, whatever you want, which I didn't see anything in of course, this is where an attorney would come in. I didn't see anything at all in any of the statutes that then would not give the county the right to vacate the right of way, split it like you would on any other vacation. It's out of your hands. Property now is being taxed to the adjoining property owners. Everybody's happy. Some people may not be. Others can be.
It's not going to pay property tax on something they've been used forever for free charge.
At least since they pulled the tracks. At least since they pulled the tracks, the owners are there. And if you think about it, even at minimal tax of $2,000 a year for 50 years, on some of these parcels, that's a lot of money that's being left on the table. And I know there are people out there that want it, but until something is done, I know for Tomshee, because I had to do that search for some people, and here it is, but this is what you have to do, and it's never got any further than, oh, okay.
I can't remember which legal counsel started to look at it. Then it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know if it's change in administration or what.
How long have I been doing this for you? Over 20 years?
As long as I've been here.
Yeah, well.
So 5.
A long time. 2003. 21 years.
Okay.
I've brought it up on occasion, first I think I brought it up.
I think we bring it up every year.
We bring it up every year. I talk until I'm blue in my face. It's just that with the county's money problems having and leaving some of these things on the line, it's the same way with Lot 26. It's something that nobody can really use. Why not? Why not add it to somebody where it can be added so it can generate some revenue? And it's the same way with other. There's no property that is valueless. It's just who is it has more value to. Does that help? Mm-hmm. So is there any other questions or you're fired? Don't come back.
No, you're not fired. You get to come back. We appreciate you.
Yes, you bet.
Yeah,
We do.
it's
Yes, thanks for your work.
and like I say, I was disappointed in the length of time it took them to do the reports because we ended up only doing 46.
Mhm.
And of course they were doing a learning curve, and of course they didn't have me there to really do it. And I think Nellie did a pretty good job of the situation. I think she may have had some people out of Coeur d'Alene help on some of them they had bases on.
Do you say 46 out of how many?
Usually we have around 100.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The most-
They did all of them.
They did all 46 or 8
Yeah,
of them, whatever
46.
it was. And
Well, you started with 56, you pulled 10
Yeah.
before. They had some of them done and pulled 10
Right.
and things. And
but usually Susan starts with about 100.
yeah, I usually start with 100. The one year that I thought I was going to kill me was 138.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot. If we get up over a 60, I think it would be easier, take a look at it. Maybe we'd split that between Alliance Title, have them do some, in order to feed them to me a little bit faster. Because I did, for 3 weeks I'm saying, now I'm finally, hey, you need to start feeding these to me so I can do what I need to do, to check them and things. And,
The pace they were giving them to you was too slow. Too.
oh yeah, it was 3 weeks before I finally got 1 or 2. And, I can understand it on some of them. I couldn't really understand it on those that I know they had bases on. But other than the fact that, they're struggling down there too, trying to
Yeah, I bet they are.
train people. And
So usually we send out 3 notices to all the potential tax deeds over the last 6 months before we actually charge them the fee for the searches. I sent one more 2 weeks before the March 1st deadline, and I had really good response to it. I don't know how many paid right at that last minute, but so I'm going to continue to do that every year.
yeah,
It really seemed to help.
It does save. It does save. I mean, it's a little bit more work for you, but really, in the long run, if you can get them to pay their taxes, that's the
We want
intent.
people to
We
stay
don't
in
want
their
people
homes.
to lose their property.
Right.
I don't think that's the intent.
No.
I mean, there are some cases in here that says, "Oh, it's about time." I see some of them because they came in here. Well, this brochure. I'm sure he came in here. He bought it in '97 at a tax sale. Probably after the tax sale went on there, he says, "Well, I can't do anything with this." Maybe pay taxes on it for a while because they weren't that high, and then decide, hey, I don't really want this. Same way with the minerals. I don't. I don't want this. Those
That
type
all
of
the
things.
minerals are like shredded.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
No, I don't.
What do you-
I mean, the only,
just a mineral
I did tax deed, or you guys did a tax search way back on the Sunset Mine up there, 93 acres of minerals. And I'm looking at the deed. Oh, I like this one. I let it go through. Nobody bid on it, so I bought it.
Did you?
Yeah, because it had not only the right to the minerals, it had rights to the surface.
Oh.
And I could build cabins, and I could build processing units, and I could use the surface to store my rock, and I could also cut the trees, and I had all the water.
Wow.
Hey!
Win-win.
Now I got a gold mine, but I only have to pay taxes on it, $5 an acre.
Yeah.
And the gold isn't, the minerals aren't going anywhere, so they're in the bank, right?
Right.
If nothing else, I can say, I got a gold mine. What do you got? If nothing else, it's bragging rights. But no, it went through, and I thought, nobody's buying this one. And I thought about it after 6 months, because at that point, you can approach the county and say, hey, you've got this, and it's been up for auction, and I'll give you the taxes on it. I think it cost me, I don't know, maybe less than $2,000. Yeah, for it, but if nothing else, it's bragging rights.
Yeah.
There you go. No, so that's just some suggestions. Yeah, if at one time I'm thinking, well, even if the county got a deed from the railroad company and then they could, do it that way. But I think, no, that's not going to work because the revisionary clause, and they actually have abandoned it, and
Yeah,
therefore,
yeah.
and it's just the thought. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
people are using it anyway. Why not make,
Get on the tax rolls.
and then let the title company work it out as to what they will and will not insure. Because, you got it. My dad's just as guilty. He's up there too. He's just as guilty as the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
And why not?
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions on
Yeah.
on what's here? So
Yeah.
I can go ahead and I'll close the meeting for now.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and adjourn it. And then we